All right, David Limbaugh needs no introduction. He is a political commentator, nationally syndicated columnist with Creators Syndicate, a lawyer, and multiple-time best-selling author. His latest book, Jesus is Risen, provides a riveting account of the birth of Christianity. Here is David Limbaugh. David Limbaugh, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So, Jesus is risen, Paul and the early church. Let's start with this. What's the thesis of the book? Why should we be studying things that happened after Jesus has already left the building?
Well, this is the fourth of my Christian-themed books, and just so I set the table here, the last one was about the Gospels, and this one is about the Book of Acts and 6 of Paul's 13 epistles. So I just go along the biblical text and either summarize it or paraphrase it, and sometimes quote it verbatim, and then interlace commentary from some of the great Christian thinkers, and then some of my own from one of the lesser Christian thinkers. And well, obviously, if Jesus is who he says he is, the Son of God, then it is relevant for all times. And if he is correct that the way to the Father is through him and only through him, then people ought to take heed and listen. So, as C.S. Lewis says, he's either the Lord, liar, or a lunatic. We don't have any other option available to us. So when you come to the question of who Jesus is, it has eternal consequences. At least Christian doctrine teaches that. The Bible teaches that. So we ought to at least address it with sobriety.
Well, no question about that. But why this particular, what do we get out of this particular part of the Bible? Obviously, when Jesus is speaking to us, when he's acting, we can see that this is a direct delivery system, that we're hearing the word. Yeah. What are we hearing from these guys after he's gone?
Yeah, well, he sent the Holy Spirit to them. He told the apostles, go to Jerusalem. I'm going to ascend now. I'm going to leave you now. Someone greater than me is going to be here, meaning the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit would come, wait for instructions from him, go to Jerusalem. So they waited, and he came at Pentecost. And all the ensuing happened. The relevance of the book of Acts is the history of the early church and how the apostles were on fire to spread the gospel through the power of the Holy Spirit. Peter and Paul are featured prominently in this book. And then after Paul plants these churches throughout the Roman Empire, he gets reports back about how they're doing and whether they're following the true gospel that he delivered to them, finds out disturbing reports in some cases that they are not. So he writes them letters, plaintively begging them to come back to the true gospel. And you see the personal grieving that he's going through, almost like he birthed children and he sees them going astray and he wants them to come back. And he writes these local, very personal letters to them and giving them Christian instruction, how to reunite in harmony, don't follow the false teachers, don't follow the pagan influences, and follow the true gospel as I delivered it to you. And then he also delivers Christian doctrine. And someone asked me, well, what would Paul say to the churches today? I said, well, he would say exactly what he said then. That's why these letters, though they were written to individual churches and sometimes individuals, are of universal and timeless application. They are exactly what the churches look to today for guidance and how they ought to be operating.
One of the things I'm always impressed about when I'm reading about this portion of the Christian story is the incredible danger all of them were in. I mean, they were in really hostile territory, and I think almost all of the disciples were killed, I believe. I mean, everybody was martyred. They were talking to people. Would the people they were talking to have known if they were complete lunatics? Would they have known, they were saying that Jesus had risen from the dead. It wasn't a mile outside of Jerusalem, was it, that this had happened? And they were talking to those people. Would they have reacted the same way, do you think, if it was all a scam?
No, in fact, what I am fond of saying about this is that Christianity is not a religion that was developed from the ground up by human beings to God, developing their own idea of an abstract God and through abstract theology or philosophy. It is grounded in history. After Christ was with the apostles during his earthly ministry, and he was crucified and died, they still were dubious that it was all true. Peter denied him 3 times. It was only when he appeared in his bodily resurrection over a period of 40 days to them and to as many as 500 people at one time, as Paul reports in 1 Corinthians, that they became believers, that they were transformed from cowardly skeptics to bold proclaimants of the gospel. And they had actually witnessed him in the flesh, in his bodily resurrection. They would not. You could say, well, some other religions, a lot of other religions and beliefs have martyrs. What's the difference? The difference is they honestly do sincerely believe that what they are dying for is true, but they don't have anything based on history. These apostles, is even conceivable that they would have died a martyr's death for something they knew to be a lie? They're saying it happened. They saw it happen. So why would they go off? What possible benefit could it bring them for doing it? And so I'm interested in Paul when he's being tried for heresy and defiling the temple by the Jewish authorities. He turned to one of the kings and said, "You know this is true. It didn't happen in a corner." And that bears directly on your question. Everybody knew it happened. Well, not everybody, but the word was out that it had happened. That's why they were so worried about it. It was a threat to their existing religion and their authority.
There are people now who say that this religion, it's backward, it's over, it's irrelevant to the scientific world. Guys like Steven Pinker who are saying if we fall back, that everything we have comes from the Enlightenment. And if we fall back into religion, we fall back into medieval darkness. What's your response to that?
My response is that that's history revisionism. I believe that that Christianity gave rise to modern science. All the major early great scientists were Christian, and there's nothing incompatible between Christianity and science. Christianity is based on an overwhelming body of evidence that is sifted through our reason. We believe what we believe in a rational way. Obviously, faith is something different from reason, but faith is compatible with reason. It involves an act of the will to put your trust in Christ. The Enlightenment, of course, had some beneficial influences, and I guess if you look back at the founding of the United States, there's this ongoing debate about whether it was primarily a product of the Enlightenment or of Judeo-Christian tradition. I think it was primarily the Judeo-Christian tradition. The overwhelming majority of our founders were Christians, strong practicing Christians. Of course, the Enlightenment had some influence. Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and some others were skeptics or deists or whatever you want to, however you want to denominate them. But the large majority of those framers were Christians, and I think that there's nothing, as I say, there's nothing incompatible between that and science. And I disagree with Pinker. And I think, by the way, Pinker's an interesting guy. I've read quite a bit of what he's written, especially on writing. Have you ever read his books on writing?
No, he's a wonderful writer. Yeah.
But sometimes he's so far out there in some of his social stuff. But the Judeo-Christian tradition teaches that that man is made in God's image. That's what gives rise to our inalienable rights. If we evolved from some rock or some primordial soup, what possible basis is there to claim we have inalienable rights? And those rights are what gives it, are at the root of the civility that we ultimately have to give toward each other and of our laws, which are designed to protect us and our liberties.
You know, there's a book called by Marcello Pera, an Italian philosopher and politician, called Why We Should Call Ourselves Christians, in which he sort of laments the lackluster response to Islamic terrorism and feels that Europe is basically disappearing. And yet the book is called Why We Should Call Ourselves Christians, because he himself is an atheist, and he believes that we should cling to the Judeo-Christian principles, but he can't believe. What's your response to that?
I find that interesting because a lot of reasonable, non-hostile atheists, as opposed to the new atheists, Christopher Hitchens and those who are affirmatively hostile to the religion, believe that they acknowledge that Christianity and Judaism were positive influences on society. And even though they don't believe, they think we should gravitate toward those because they're healthy for society. I find it an amazing disconnect. I'm not saying it's irrational, but where do they think those ideas came from? Now, Pinker and Hitchens and probably Harris and these guys, they think that these great ideas, these profound ideas, developed organically over the years, and that man developed his own morality by the bootstraps and through centuries of enlightenment. I just radically disagree with that. These ideas that we have that are worth saving can be traced directly back to the Judeo-Christian tradition.
But can you get rid of, can you hold on to the ideas without having the faith? I guess that's what I'm asking, because Pero seems to feel that you can't.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think when you take the roots out of it, what do you have to anchor it? What justification is there? What compelling argument is there to keep these principles? First place, the entire secular left would disagree with you that these are beneficial ideas anyway. So what do you have to ground them in?
Yeah. One of the things that I disagreed with you about, that I'm really happy to have you here to explain it to me more fully in your book. I think it was in Jesus on Trial. You basically held that to get rid of a literal reading of the creation and fall story in Genesis is to lose your Christian faith. And I believe that every word of the Bible is true, but I don't believe that every word is true in the same way. And I don't read that Genesis story necessarily literally. Why is that a threat to my ultimate Christian faith, which is in the resurrection and the salvation of Christ?
I don't remember saying that or saying that in that way. I don't have any problem. Let me put it this way. I respect both the new earth, the young earth, and the old earth positions on this. I think that science, the overwhelming body of science is that it's an old earth. And then you can read scripture and say it requires us, if we read it literally, to say that there's a young earth. But then other people who I respect just as much say, no, there are gaps. And there are other interpretations that say it can be compatible with an old earth. I'm more inclined to believe it's an old earth, but I don't think it's irrational to say it could be a young earth, because things aren't always as they appear, and different ways of testing, whatever. But whatever it is, I don't want people to think that we're hostile to science. I wouldn't sit there and say something that I know to be true scientifically can't be true because it's incompatible with my belief, my Christian belief system. No, I don't think we're at odds on that. I think obviously, even though I believe the Bible is inerrant, I don't think it's I don't believe in a dogmatic reading of it.
Okay.
But I don't want to sidestep this. If you please explore that further, if I'm misunderstanding or if I stated something. But I don't think what you described is what I had. No, I just, well, let me think of what I did say. This is the only thing I can think of. I think that evolution, the idea of macroevolution, is incompatible with the Judeo-Christian worldview. I don't know what Jews believe on this. Need to talk to Shapiro about this. But I think here's why. Here's what I really believe, and this may be what you thought. The Bible specifically says God was made in man. Man was made in God's image and different in kind from the other species. We didn't evolve from one of those lesser species. I think to say we did is incompatible with the Christian worldview and with the Bible. And by the way, I don't think it's supportable by science anyway. I don't think they can demonstrate any links, any of these missing links. The evidence that they base this on is so shoddy, it's unbelievable. And our so-called common ancestors, of course we have common DNA, but we are distinctly different. And God specifically made us in his image. He didn't make us to evolve into his image. That's my belief.
We're running out of time, and I want to just get a couple of things on the immediate political situation. You've been a supporter of Donald Trump. Do you recognize, with them, him sending obscene tweets at Stormy Daniels and her sending obscene tweets back, do you recognize any danger to Christians in supporting a guy who hasn't lived a particularly Christian life?
Well, I don't know about a danger. It's not ideal. And when I originally supported Ted Cruz, and I was not a big fan of Trump, once the choice became binary, which I believe it did in the general election, I became a strong supporter of Trump. And I've been a great admirer of what he's done in office. I think he's really stuck to his promises. I think he's given us a template on how to fight, which is what we were missing, which is why the Tea Party rose up, which is why we have Trump. Trump is, I don't want to say he's a symptom, but he's a result. He's an outgrowth of this movement that was going on. I radically disagree with the Never Trumpers who say he's a cult This is not, and people do appreciate him because he may be the perfect guy, the only guy who we could have coalesced in this movement. But this movement was going to find someone. It just so happens pretty good with Trump. The problem with Trump is with the good, you get the bad. You could say, well, take away his tweets. Well, then that would take away some of his great tweets and some of the things. But I don't take him as seriously. And this Selena Zito, serious versus literally. I used to be outraged when he would accuse Ted Cruz's dad of shooting. Now I look at that and just laugh my head off. It's so absurd. I don't take Trump seriously on that level. I will say this, though. It's hard to argue with people criticizing him when he does what he did today, or not today, whenever it was, about the Stormy Daniels thing. He doesn't need to get so caustic. Yes, he's a little egomaniacal. I wish he wouldn't do that. But on balance, it's Trump. He's harmless on these things. I really think he's harmless. And I've talked a lot about this with my Christian friends. Is it compatible with the Christian worldview to support Trump? I think it's compulsory that we support him, given these meta issues that we face. We face the existential threats to this country. The left wants to fundamentally change. In fact, the people that say we share common goals with the left are just so delusional. No, we don't. We don't just share the same goals. We get to them a different way. They want to radically destroy the foundational principle of this nation. We have to fight. It's a war. I don't mean it's a physical war. I mean, I'm not Kurt Schlichter after all. Militant normals, plug for Kurt.
No,
but
I would never sink to calling you Kurt Schlichter. That would just be cruel.
No, he's a great American. I'm just kidding. He's a good buddy. But you know what I mean. But it is going to be tough. We don't have to fight as dirty as they do, but we have to fight as intensely. And Christians, I do not feel the slightest bit guilty for supporting Trump. I can't defend some of the things he does, but on a policy level, I'm very happy with what he's doing. I really am.
Yeah. No,
now we got some things to change. We got to get entitlements under control. We got to get spending under control. But how do you do everything at once? These liberals are just creating chaos all over. But on entitlements, we got to convince Trump first. He's with us on most of the issues. Somebody's got to get his ear on entitlements. Yeah,
no, I agree with you completely. David Limbaugh, the book is Jesus is Risen, Paul and the Early Church. Thanks very much for coming on. It's great talking to you.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Really interesting writer on Christian issues, David.